Menopause is one day in time, and it's the demarcation of 12 months of no menstrual cycle. It's like your birthday. One day, menopause. The 7 to 10 years leading up to that one day, as well as the first year after, that's perimenopause. Peri just means around.
Okay.
So it's around menopause. Everything after that is postmenopausal. Now, 7 to 10 years is this range in which we start to see a decline in estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. But in the same way that when you were going through puberty, you got your cycle overnight, but the changes took years, right? It takes years for us to grow hips and breasts and all the things.
Right.
It's the same thing, but sort of in the reverse order.
Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the very first podcast of Reignite with Reet. It's our very first episode with Dr. Desi Bartlett here. We're going to speak a little bit on all things women's health and wellness, specifically more towards perimenopause and menopause, but we'll touch on pregnancy as well and see where the conversation leads us. So I want to welcome you, Dr. Desi.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Our very first episode, and I'm so honored to have you. I wanted to start by just diving right into it. And how did you get started in the women's wellness and fitness and health?
My mother was a disciple of Goswami Kriyananda at the Temple of Kriya Yoga in Chicago. I was given my first mantra at 6 years old. And so I've been doing this my entire life. And what I found was that I had my moment of rebellion of not wanting to do yoga. And then I went into fitness thinking it was really different. But what I found eventually was that the two support one another. And when you bring the ancient technology and marry it with the modern research, then there's something really powerful that we have to offer women all over the world.
Wow. What a background. I'm so honored that you get to share this with us. How did you find yoga impacting you in your current life?
In my current life. So I begin every morning before I even open my eyes, and I connect to the voice within, and I slow my breath down, and I simply ask, where can I be of service? Show me, show me, show me. I say it in Spanish, enséñame, enséñame, enséñame. And to me, that's yoga. It's showing up and being of service. And then sometimes it's asana and working with, beautiful women like you, whether it's in person or online or writing books or making videos. My real passion is for helping to empower women with strength from the inside out. And so whatever platform that looks like, I'm in.
I love that. That is so, so special. It feels like a warm hug, just seriously. I want to also go a little bit backwards and start with pregnancy. Women, it's something that I was nervous remembering when I was pregnant. I had been in fitness most of my life, but when I got pregnant, I was scared. What do I do? What movements? You read on Dr. Google and says, don't do this, don't do that. What can you recommend for women? Where can we start?
So I wrote a book. It's called Your Strong, Sexy Pregnancy, a Yoga and Fitness Guide. And I don't have it here at the moment because it's very common for me to gift them. As soon as I meet a pregnant woman, I'm like, here, take the book. Because we don't come with an instruction manual. And our doctors, love our doctors.
Love our doctors.
Unfortunately, don't have a lot of time. And that time is often answering questions about everything from, can I have sex to how should I deliver my baby? So by the time that we get around to fitness and yoga, and is it safe to work my core? And is it safe to go for a run? Usually there's no time left for those questions. So it's my pleasure and my honor to help women with those kinds of questions and to answer, what can I do? I don't give blanket statements anymore because I find that every woman is an individual. And so what I like to do is just say, if you didn't do it before pregnancy, now is not the time to start. Except for yoga, you can start yoga at any time. But for example, you're not going to start CrossFit, the moment you find out that you're pregnant.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, if you did it before, you can do it now. Generally speaking, if the workout leaves you needing to sleep twice as long as the workout lasted, then it's not appropriate for your pregnancy.
Okay.
So for example, if you went to Pilates and then you needed a 2-hour nap after a 1-hour class, too much.
Right.
So it's really all about listening to your body and really, staying present with your body and with your baby and asking like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And listening.
I think that's what I'm finding as I age as well. And we've been programmed to look outward, ask outward. Everybody else knows the answer. And like you said, go inward, listen to your body, listen to your baby. Is it any changes? Like as you get towards trimester 3, say,
Yeah.
would you
Of course.
recommend a little more gentle, a little more, again, listening to your body? Is there any specifics you would think to prep you for labor?
Yeah, of course. So third trimester, we're going to step the feet wide all of the time so that there's space. But what I find is that women, including myself, in third trimester, I moved like R2-D2. You move like one big unit because you can't really articulate the spine. So we want to be aware that we are modifying her movements so that she can still find a sense of strength and flexibility, as well as supporting her posture. Now, one thing that I do that's a little bit different from most instructors is when I'm working with a pregnant goddess, we almost always do 40 squats. And so that's, it's got sort of a twofold meaning. On the one hand, it's a squat per week of pregnancy, because there's 40 weeks of pregnancy, but it's also to strengthen her pelvic floor and her awareness of her core. So when it's time to push, she's ready.
I wish I had known that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, 40 squats for 40 weeks of pregnancy. Okay, Got it. During labor, what do you suggest? Like, I hire doulas, we hire midwives, we hire in that moment. We have and doctors, so much coming at us, and I'm just recalling from my experience. Yet I still felt so little support. So many women and so much information and so many resources, yet in that moment you're scared. Everybody's frantic, depending on your experience, but having a emergency C-section, it became like 0 to 1,000 very quickly.
Yeah.
What do you recommend if there's one thing a woman can remember in that moment when there's so much chaos, information, decisions having to be made around you? What can the woman focus on?
Her breath, staying present, asking within. It's really the same answer as the first question, asking your wise self, what do I need now? I remember during my first labor and delivery with my older son, I went so deep within, and I was so blessed to have a doula that was also my meditation partner for 10 years. So I asked her, I'm like, hey, Lori, can you close your eyes and go in with me? And we both went in, and we were so far gone. We knew everything was going to be okay, even though machines were beeping and there was someone off to the side saying, don't worry, we'll get you a C-section. I was all good. And I spoke to my baby and I said, please let me know that you're okay. Because the doctor, actually wasn't the doctor, the traveling nurse came in and said, cord is wrapped around his neck. We're probably going to have to get you an emergency C-section. And it didn't feel true. So I went super deep within and I spoke to my baby and I said, can you show me that you're okay? Oh, I'm going to cry. And then I saw him surfing as a 16-year-old and I was like, you're cool.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
It's listening.
Yeah.
And trusting.
I think that was so powerful because my story is a little different. I don't feel that I listened to my body. Fear took over, and it was essentially being gentle on myself. You do the best decision in the moment with what you have. I wanted, and I felt that we could have done it. Yeah. But there was so much pressure from the anesthesiologist, from all the doctors saying, you have seconds to make this decision. Now I'm taking over.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, just save my baby. And, you know, it's interesting how many conversations I've had with women.
Yeah.
And they feel disempowered, that they don't have a choice.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, labor and delivery has lost some of the feeling of being sacred because there's too much going on in the room. And what I've learned from like amazing doulas like Ina May Gaskin is that the way that the baby went in is the way that the baby should come out. So when you're making love with your partner, you know, you don't have 15 fluorescent lights and beeping and people going, well, you got to make it just. No, it's intimate and it's beautiful and it's warm lighting and, you know, it's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
And I feel like any decision that we're forced to make like this is hard. But if I could just offer to you and to all women who have had the experience of perhaps going through a labor and delivery situation that was not what you envisioned, two things. One, you can rewrite the story. So, for example, when you're writing your labor and delivery story, you can fast forward it to today and say, and then Reet used all of this experience to create a women's podcast to help empower future mommies. So that's a really beautiful new ending. And then separately, you can go back in time and you can send love to that version of yourself and say, I've got you. I've got you right now. So we can heal through space and time.
Oh, that's so powerful. You know, to future women, and that is my mission, to help women feel empowered in all areas of their life, in all seasons of their life, and help our daughters feel that.
Exactly.
That's what my why is, my daughter, so that I may rewrite my story. And you sharing that is just, what a blessing, what a gift. If I've already gotten like so much, and we're just getting started. Whew, thank you so much for all of that information on more pregnancy and labor. I think I went there because I'm feeling called. That was a little bit of, this is healing as I do this. I'm rewriting my story right now.
Yes,
so
you are.
I'm trusting my intuition. Not, I'm not trying to follow a script. I have a little bit, but I'm going with it because that's what reaches women. Our stories. Not what's in the books necessarily, or encyclopedias or Google.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So I'm going to pivot a little bit more to another phase, postpartum. So we have this beautiful journey. We bring the baby into the world. However that happened, postpartum. My experience was this emergency C-section. I have women that have natural births, epidural, whatever, each individual journey. I keep hearing pelvic floor.
Yes.
I hear that.
Yeah.
And yet, is it something we can prepare for before, during, and after?
100%. Yes. Yes, of course. So everyone has a pelvic floor. Men have pelvic floors, women have pelvic floors. And all that refers to is the musculature that's sort of like a hammock at the bottom of your torso, and it holds the weight of your organs. So, let's put a stomach in there. Let's put some kidneys back here. Let's put a uterus in there. When you're having a baby, my babies were huge. My second baby was almost 10 pounds. So I had 10 pounds in my uterus sitting on my pelvic floor. So if my pelvic floor had not been prepared with strength, 40 squats, then it could have led to a lot of physical therapy. I'm not saying that it's always preventable, but in many cases, simply by being aware of how to engage and lift, it's yoga, it's mula bandha. It's the ability to focus on the muscles that connect your two sit bones. So if everyone wants to do this, just kind of move side to side in your chair. So you feel the two bones that you're sitting on, right? Now there's a muscle that connects those two. That's part of the pelvic floor. Now move forward and back a little bit and you'll feel your pubis and your tailbone, your coccyx. Imagine that there's another muscle that connects those two. So we've got this network that holds the organs. And then I teach women how to breathe in and envision that it's opening like a flower, blossoming, and then exhale, pull it in like a rosebud, and gently lift. So I do a lot of that so that we don't have to, what do they call that? Peas, I think. I forget the name right now. When you sneeze and pee after you've had a baby, because the pelvic floor is weak. This is a funny word. I can't remember it right now, but it's basically like you sneeze, you pee, you jump, you pee, you run, you pee.
Yeah, so many women talk about that.
Yeah.
Their experience.
Yes, because the weight of the baby has been sitting on the pelvic floor for so many months. So what I've learned is that we can help to lift in movements like squats, in movements also just simply seated in meditation, teaching her how to lift. What we hear all the time is the Kegel. Yeah. So when you go to the restroom and when you go pee and then you stop the flow of urine for a moment, the muscles that you use to lift your pelvic floor, that's called a Kegel. What I see though is that women are just going Kegel, 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 and so what they're doing is contracting over and over and over, and that's not how the baby comes out. The baby comes out with a push. So I need her to have full range of motion. How do I do that? Squatting. I know I sound like the evangelical squat queen.
There's nothing wrong with squatting.
Right. It helps a lot.
Yeah. In so many ways. That's amazing. Okay.
And that's how women had babies for centuries.
Right.
You know, we squatted because of gravity. It wasn't until, I believe it was the 14th century, there was a king that wanted to see the birth of his child. So the woman laid down and she spread her legs.
And it's so uncomfortable, so unnatural. And most parts of the other world, you know, that's why they have squatters. Squatty potties.
Squatty potty.
It's a real thing because gravity helps the flow.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. So we start off with pregnancy. You can do 40 squats. We'll go through labor, breathe, be present, go inward, and then pelvic floor throughout all of life.
Throughout all of it, yeah, because you need that power to push.
Right.
You really do.
Okay. So I'm going to pivot to the next phase. For me, it was perimenopause. You know, there's a lot in between, but for the sake of this podcast, I want to get covering some juicy stuff about, I say juicy because it's relevant for me. Can you define what perimenopause means?
Yes. So let me back up just a little bit. Menopause is one day in time, and it's the demarcation of 12 months of no menstrual cycle. So it's like your birthday. One day, menopause. The 7 to 10 years leading up to that one day, as well as the first year after, that's perimenopause. Peri just means around.
Okay.
So it's around menopause. Everything after that is postmenopausal. Now, 7 to 10 years is this range in which we start to see a decline in estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. But in the same way that when you were going through puberty, you know, you got your cycle overnight, but the changes took years, right? It takes years for us to like grow hips and breasts and all the things.
Right.
It's the same thing, but sort of in the reverse order.
And the symptoms change, like from month to month to, you know, all of a sudden some women go through hot flashes. Some overnight, some it's a very individual journey.
Very much so.
Right? There's no one size fit all.
Exactly. There's a constellation of 77 symptoms that can occur. And the most common, which is present in 75% of women, is called vasomotor symptoms, hot flashes, night sweats. It can also be heart palpitations, by the way. So that's number one. Number two, or the second most common, is sleep disturbances, which makes sense because if you're sweating all night, it's going to wake you up.
Oh, yeah.
And then the third, it's got a really nice name, waist thickening. I'm like, couldn't you think of something better?
It's that belly.
Yeah, it's the belly fat. It's the redistribution of body fat to the abdomen. So those are the most common three. But it could be anything. It could be frozen shoulder. It could be itchy skin. It could be hair falling out. It could be
hair growing in.
Hair growing in, yes. It could be vaginal dryness. Like the list goes on and on.
So over 77 different symptoms.
Mhm.
And it's luck of the draw what you get.
Exactly.
You're
Yeah.
picking out of a hat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm laughing now because it really is. I've experienced hot flashes, night sweats, having to literally change my sheets in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
Ended up sleeping in that phase on a towel,
Mhm.
just out of convenience.
Yeah.
And massive. I wear the Aura because I measure my sleep, because I
Yes.
wanted to know how much deep sleep am I getting? What quality of sleep am I getting? I think it's really, really important. I find sleep was one I needed to focus on, and it was the last one on my list.
Mhm.
You know, it was everything else. Like, I'm trying to treat the symptoms,
Mhm.
but I'm not addressing like the roots.
Yes, and so that's what we're learning about now more than ever, especially from naturopathic doctors. We're learning about root cause medicine. And so if we can go all the way back and try to prevent the hot flash, then hopefully we can improve your sleep. But we can indeed improve both at the same time. So for example, we can work with yoga and we can work with HRT if it's appropriate for your body to prevent the hot flash, or to at least decrease either the intensity or the number of hot flashes per day. At the same time, I can give you a better fan and some cooling sheets
Yes.
and 2 sets of sheets like we did for our toddlers.
Yep.
There's ways to help in sort of a multi-prong approach.
I do that. It's all about the bamboo sheets. HRT. I don't know if I was in menopause one, but that was the scary word for me.
Mm.
Because when I looked, there was a lot of research saying breast cancer,
Mhm.
HRT breast cancer. Can you
Yeah.
speak on that a little bit? So instead of being fear-based, can we be a little bit more informed?
Yeah, so HRT stands for hormonal replacement therapy. And so what we're talking about is estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, the sex hormones, right? Our bodies need testosterone to do something called aromatize estrogen. You can't make estrogen without testosterone. And what's really weird is that we have such a plummet in testosterone when we get into this phase that men often have more estrogen than we do. It's like, well, that's backwards, right?
Stop taking my estrogen.
Right? Totally. So there are many different forms of estrogen on the market. There are creams and pellets and pills and injections and patches, intravaginal. It goes on and on and on. But originally, the hormone replacement therapy that was on the market for years, I believe it began around 1980-ish, was called Premarin. Now, Premarin, pregnant, marin, mare, it was made of horse urine. Yeah. So that indeed creates some ethical questions around the horse. You know, are we trying to keep the horse pregnant so that we can get her urine? Also, do you want to take pregnant horse urine? You know, so not everyone knew what they were taking.
Right.
Now, in research, it's only recently that really powerful voices like Dr. Stacy Sims, who I love,
Me too.
have come forward and said, you know, most of our research dollars, especially in the US, are dedicated to research around men. And the reason for that is because women's cycles are so dynamic, whether it's your period or perimenopause or whatever, our levels are always so different that it's harder to research us.
Right.
It doesn't mean we shouldn't.
No.
Right? So there was this research study that came about, I think it was 2002-ish. It was called the Women's Health Initiative. And the Women's Health Initiative was sort of the first time that the US put a lot of money towards researching menopause. Now, what they were looking at was menopause and HRT. And is HRT safe, right? Unfortunately, the women that they tested or that were in this research study, which I believe there were like 11,000, they were 65 and up. These women had been postmenopausal for several years, in some cases for a full decade, right?
That's a big difference.
It's a big difference. And so what they saw was a slight, I believe it was less than 1% uptick in breast cancer. But Was it the HRT or was it simply the age? Because we know as women age, our chances of developing breast cancer increase. So there are several flaws that occurred in that study. Unfortunately, there was a reporter and a researcher who came out, I think it was on NBC News, and said, there's a correlation. Breast cancer, HRT, scared the heck out of women for decades. And so now we have to roll back all of that fear. I won't get political, but we had some fear around some other things in the last few years, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a minute to unwind and to go, wait, what's real? So I understand women are scared.
Absolutely.
And I get it. Additionally, what do I take? Do I take estrogen? Do I take progesterone? Do I take testosterone? Do I put it here? Do I put it there? Do I put it everywhere? You know, it's a whole thing. So
I think for me, it's been an ongoing journey to find practitioners that align with you and listen to you.
Yes.
So I really advocate for women not settling just for the first person that will either write you a prescription and on you go, but doesn't want to have a conversation and explain.
Yes.
I think it's a multifaceted approach. It's not one size fits all in this season of our life. It's seeking more knowledge and information, but also having that support. I found when I went into menopause, there wasn't the support. So I went seeking, and this is why I'm here to share. Can you recommend like resources?
Yes. So unfortunately, OBGYNs receive less than 4 hours of education about menopause. Less than 1% of research in the US is dedicated to menopause. The research money that's now given to women is very often given to pregnancy, which
absolutely you're creating life.
Yes, yes. But look at every single woman is going to go through menopause. Not every single woman is going to have a pregnancy. Can we perhaps allocate some more dollars over here as well? Can we raise more money so that everyone has enough funding? You know, I'm very, very blessed that I have a wonderful business partner in leading retreats for perimenopausal women, who's one of my best friends, and she's a naturopathic doctor. I highly recommend that if your Western doctor is not listening, maybe check out a naturopath as well and talk about, this is how I feel. Very often, getting a full blood panel is a little bit easier. But I like to mix Eastern and Western. That's like the whole crux of what I do. Yes.
I agree.
So I have a wonderful gynecologist here in Hawaii. But to your point, it took 5. I'm a little picky. It took 5 different doctors for me to find the one. And I felt like Goldilocks, like this one does this and this one doesn't do that. And you have to keep looking.
Yeah.
So in general, interview until you find a doctor who listens, a Western doctor. In addition, find a naturopath so that you have that additional resource. Separately, what you can look for now is that there are certain Western doctors who are like menopause certified. So they go through additional training for menopausal research. Find them, they help.
Absolutely. Mine, I've added acupuncture. She's a Chinese doctor specializing in helping women.
Yes.
And I do my HRT through her along with acupuncture.
Yes.
Because it's a mind-body full connection. It's not you just treat the body. It's not you just treat the mind. I've learned out of the last 8 years of my life, finally in this season, it's all coming together. That's where yoga comes in to help. It literally treats my mind and body at the same time with my breath. And it has just been a game changer.
You are speaking my language. I changed the name of everything in my company a couple of years ago to Desi Body Mind, because the body and the mind are interconnected. We are not parts. And unfortunately, medicine has become so siloed. You know, let's talk about HRT, but then let's talk about, are you experiencing anxiety? And these two doctors don't even talk to each other.
No. You could be on 2 different meds.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes it's, as we love doctors, they're doing what they can.
Exactly.
But those meds can have very different reactions,
very much
causing
so.
more heart palpitations and creating symptoms.
Yes. So there needs to be someone who is looking at you as a whole, and it's you.
Yeah.
We have to show up for ourselves, and we have to be our own best advocate. And when something is wrong, we have to have the courage to leave. You don't have to be a good girl and sit through the rest of the appointment. You can say, you know what? I don't think we're a fit. Thank you.
That's so special. I wish I had you with me along with some of the doctors, because I felt intimidated. I felt they knew more than I did. And I know so many women go in there thinking they're going to get the answers, what they're looking for, and the answer is really you. I've really taken on this in this season of my life. Wherever the problem lies, there lies the solution.
Yes.
And you got to lean into that. As my daughter told me this morning when I was nervous about shooting this episode, she said, Mom, lean in.
Absolutely. Yeah, no one knows you better than you. And if you're not sure where to start, just buy a notebook. And every single day, write down how you feel. And you can begin to chart that over a week, a month, 6 months, and you can bring that to the practitioner and you can say, these are the patterns. This is how I feel. Can you help?
Yeah. Even in your cell phone, we're on them. The notepad. I write everything in there now. You know, as much as I love my notebook, sometimes that notepad is accessible. So moms, write, whether it's whatever season you're in, be your own advocate.
Yes.
So can we speak on your, I'm going to pivot again, your Total Body Beautiful book.
Yes.
Where did you get inspired to write that?
Perimenopause.
I love that. I love that, how it all just aligns.
Yes. So I lived in LA for 20 years and I've worked with a lot of different celebrity clients and high profile. And what happens is there's sort of a network of people that are trusted, right? So like this Pilates teacher and that fitness trainer and that yoga teacher.
Totally.
And 2 of the amazing women that I had the privilege of networking with, Nicole Stewart, she's an amazing Pilates teacher, and we had a lot of the same clients. And then Andrea Orbeck, she's everyone's personal trainer. Like you name someone in Hollywood and she's their trainer. So what I had in my head was this idea of, just like we're talking about how we're whole beings, we also need to look at health and fitness more holistically, right? So I never say to anyone, you must do yoga. No, if it works for you, great.
Right.
I'd love to introduce it to you, but the best form of training, in my opinion, is going to bring strength, flexibility, power, teach you about nutrition, teach you about your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. So I gathered this team and I said, let's do this. Let's help women over 35 because perimenopause can start as young as 35. Yeah. Let's help her mitigate the symptoms through this awareness of what's happening inside. And let's just give her some workouts. Like, what do you do? Yeah. This is what you do. And then separately, we wrote it during COVID. We had a lot of time.
Yeah, so, we all did.
Yes, yeah.
And it was a time when I feel like a lot changed, but it slowed down. And people really realized what was missing in their life. Because we were such a hustle culture.
Yes.
We're hustling in traffic to get to the next destination, to, rushing our kids all over the place. We couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
And I feel like perimenopause is the prep for menopause because it's teaching you to slow down. And at least for me, the message kept getting louder because the busier I got, the symptoms got worse.
Yes. So the body doesn't like hustle during that phase of life. I'm not saying that you can't sprint and do all the things. What tends to happen is that, sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. Parasympathetic nervous system is rest and relax, or rest and digest, some people call it. As we age, this part can get a little bit harder. So this part can go into overdrive if I put you into certain kinds of workouts. If I stick you in the HIIT class over and over and over, I am driving your sympathetic nervous system response. Your body's getting stressed, your mind is getting stressed. What happens? You don't lose weight, you wind up with more belly fat, you're frustrated, and you want to cry because you're like, I'm working so hard.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there.
So we need to pause.
Yeah.
We need to reassess. Doesn't mean we can't go back there, but something's not working. Come to yoga.
Yeah.
Let's breathe together. Let me put you in a shape where you can hear your thoughts and hear your breath and really honor what's happening inside and build slowly.
That's my lived experience. I was hustling and high intensity workouts. I need to go harder. Ran 2 half marathons after having my daughter.
Yeah.
I felt broken until and I was going away from the yoga because I was like, what's that? It's like I can't focus because my mind would get wilder because yoga allows you to really become aware of your thoughts.
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go.
There's
you're
nowhere
in there
else to
and
go.
you're like, whoa, she's got a lot going on.
It's a common conversation I have why some women do not like coming to yoga because they're like, it's too slow for me. It's meant to be.
Yeah, it really is. But again, if yoga's not for you, it's okay. And I had a good friend, she's a wonderful trainer, and she said the best kind of exercise that you can do is the one that you will do.
Yeah.
And like ding ding ding.
Movement has been one of my main medicines.
Yeah.
When everything else wasn't working, I went back to walking. Just the basics because my flight and fight was so high, cortisol was producing, and I felt like I was on edge. I was like a bear. I was going to attack at any moment.
Yeah.
It was in protection mode.
Yes.
So many of us are like that. But like you said, go for what works in every part of your life.
Yeah. And walking, honestly, to me, walking is a form of yoga.
Yeah.
It's dropping in, it's moving meditation. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot,
And you're present and you get to enjoy wherever you are.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That has been so, so special. I also wanted you to give a shout out to this beautiful, amazing retreat that's coming up.
Oh, Radiant Renewal. Thank you. So my business partner, Dr. Natalia Gwynn, the amazing naturopath, she and I are going to be leading a 4-night retreat in Palm Springs. And we will be in one house. There will be 14 women. We'll have a private chef, a private masseuse. We will have a singing bowl experience while floating in a pool. She will do everyone's individual blood lab panels. She'll read them for you. I'll be teaching yoga, meditation, sacred circles. The list goes on and on. So we have a lot packed into these 4 days, and I cannot wait.
I'm putting it out there. I plan on being there.
Yay!
And I'm putting it out there. I hope Dr. Natalia is going to be on our podcast in the future because from what I've seen and experienced, she is a resource that we need to lean into. And it is not always easy to get somebody to do your blood panel and go through it with you.
Yeah, exactly. And there are ways to do it through the mail, you know?
Yeah. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for all that you've offered us today, and you continue. Thank you so much, Dr. Desi, for coming on.
Thank you.
Sharing. If we can recap, there's one practice you can take away from all of this, whether you're in pregnancy, post-pregnancy, new mom, perimenopause, menopause, maybe what's 1 to 2 practices that we can put into play every day or often?
Yeah, I would just say celebrate the joy of movement and however that movement looks for you, whether it's walking, singing and dancing to your baby, yoga, fitness, the list goes on and on. But movement is emotion in motion. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, underwhelmed, sad, manic, anything, movement will help. It truly is, to your point, it's medicine.
It is.
And it's free.
And it's free. You can get movement in any way, dancing, bouncing. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing, being part of our very first episode of Reignite with Reet. you can find, where can we find you if we want to find you? Online?
Yeah. So my website is desibodymind.com. It's all one word. And then on Instagram, I'm at Mothers Into Living Fit. And you can find me everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the things. And I'm one of the only people that I've heard that will give you her personal email. My email is desibartlett@gmail. If you have questions, please reach out. It is my honor and my joy to help women all over the world.
And she's definitely helped me. And all of this will be in the show notes, so don't worry. We'll make sure all of this information with the retreat, if it's something that calls to you. And we wanted to say thank you, Dr. Desi, for being here, for being such a beautiful light in this world.
Thank you, Reet, and thank you for doing this for women everywhere. You are a gorgeous, bright light, and I know that you're going to help a lot of women.
Thank you. Love you, girl.